When we stop and think about it, we realize that some of the worst PowerPoint slides any of us have ever seen are those that are filled with data. Bar charts, pie charts, line graphs, tables, and scatter plots. These are things that assault audiences with a deluge of numerical information and comparative information. And in most cases, audiences can't make heads or tails out of what they're looking at. It's just a storm of numbers and trend lines and axes. Presenters tend to forget that all but the very simplest charts and graphs make absolutely no sense to audience members. Data is only as good as it is readable and relevant. In almost every case, data slides give the audience too much information. Instead, a data slide should be interpreted and constructed in a way that includes the least amount of information possible. Why? Because all that data exists just to impart a single point of information, really. So dispense with all the superfluous data and give the audience just the single data point or trend that supports our message. Making those key points usually does not require a chart or a graph at all, but a number set in a visual context that gives context and meaning. For example, let's take a look at a couple of different slides here. Let's take a look starting with this bar chart comparing how students feel about 4 major subject areas of study. Take a look. This horizontal bar chart is not at all difficult to read or busy or an eyesore. Yeah, it's bland, but not an eyesore. But compare it to this slide that dispenses with all but a single piece of information that the presenter is trying to convey. Here you go. Anything more than that needs to be said can be imparted not through the data on the slide but through the presenter's narrative. When he or she explains that to the curriculum committee, let's say, that history is the favorite subject among students and for that reason alone the history program should be spared budget cuts. Why is the latter display of information superior to that bar chart I showed you? Because it both conveys the point and it does it in a context that is compatible with the topic. Viewers of this slide, the second slide, are not only being told that the highest percentage of students prefer history over other subjects, they can actually see and feel history. That brings an emotional and visceral component to the presentation, which is essential for making our point persuasive and memorable. This is accomplished by paring away all the excess data, by shrinking the data set to the point where audiences see only what is essential. Convey it with a photograph or a graphic image whenever possible, rather than a chart or a graph. The idea is to move beyond all the busyness and the confusion. We always lose our audience when we confuse them. Audience members are not statisticians. We should not treat them as such. Let's not make the audience decode what is obvious to us but is Greek to them. Don't make the audience do the work. It shows respect for our audience when we distill, simplify, and do the work for them, and it's up to us to segregate out that information that's really important, that's really the point, and to deliver it to them cleanly and clearly.